had lots of different personal trainers and always worked out and always sought, the best supplements and things like that. Nothing ever really worked, like regardless of how much I worked out, what I ate, what supplements I took, like my body pretty much always looked the same.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, so today I've got Warrior Babe Megan here with us. And before Warrior Babe, she spent her entire life chasing impossible standards, whether it be that she was looking to be too skinny or too fat or never enough. She tried everything. And she finally reached a breaking point where she was ready to give up. But when she found Warrior Babe, now she's not just stronger physically, she's completely transformed her mindset, her relationship with food, and most importantly, the way that she sees herself. So there's no more unrealistic expectations, no more self doubt, just confidence, freedom, and strength. And she's here today to share her story. Megan, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Same. I'm excited for you to dive into your story. So, for the listeners that are listening to this, can you let them know where you're from, what do you do for work, and how old are you?
I'm from Colorado most times. I part-time in the Panhandle of Florida. 47 years old, and what do I do? I'm a wife, a mother, and a business owner. We have businesses in Florida, Colorado, and then we homeschool.
Jack of all trades
Yeah, yeah.
is what
Busy
you're
all
trying
the
to say.
time.
Yes. Well, I love that because that busy all the time, we're going to take into the context of how you've been so successful on your journey as well. So, because that is just like a story a lot of people say that let them get in the way of their journey, but it
Yeah.
didn't for you. All right. Let's talk about what your health and fitness looked like before Warrior Babe.
I mean, I had really tried everything. I would have, I mean, my friends and people around me always said, "Oh, Megan, you're so healthy. You're the healthiest person I know." Because I was always like trying to eat right. I ate good foods and I had lots of different personal trainers and always worked out and always sought, the best supplements and things like that. But nothing ever really worked, like regardless of how much I worked out, what I ate, what supplements I took, like my body pretty much always looked the same.
When you say that you tried everything, what was like the most exhausting part of that? Like constantly trying to chase an ideal body.
Right? Well, I think first of all, I don't know what the ideal body was,
Mm,
so I didn't even know what the mark was that I was trying to hit. So I don't think I knew it at the time, but looking back, I'm like, I don't even know what I was really trying to achieve. I knew
that's
what
fair.
too fat was. I knew what too skinny was. And so somewhere in the middle, I guess, I don't really know. But I think the most exhausting part was thinking there was something that I was missing and always searching for that thing.
Mm. Ha- and how did that like constant back and forth? Like how did that like being like looking to see like if you, whether it was either too skinny or too fat, like that constant back and forth, how that impact your confidence on a day-to-day basis?
Gosh, it's funny because another thing that people would say about me was that, I'm super confident and, I would do things that I love, like doing things that make me afraid and like overcoming fear. So from that perspective, I look like a super confident person, but it was definitely
Mhm.
one of those things where I walked confidently because I had to, because otherwise I would have never like walked out of the bathroom or gotten out of the car.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, I definitely had incredibly low self-esteem and never felt like I was good enough to, be in the room.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I know that you mentioned when I was reading like through your the bio is that you prayed to just like love yourself.
Mm.
What was that moment like for you?
Well, it's funny. I actually talked to my mom before this, to make sure if I mentioned her, she would be okay with it. But she was visiting in September when I joined WarriorBabe, and it was like I've watched her whole life, like binge diet, binge eat, binge good food, binge bad food, and literally just never love herself. And so she was visiting in September, and I drove her to the airport, which is a 2 hour drive, and I dropped her off, and I was like, man, her entire life, she had a lot of stuff thrown on her as a child, like body image things that she kind of passed on to me. But like she just never loved herself. And I realized, I was like, man, I don't want to live life like that. I don't I need to love me. And
Yeah.
I prayed, and I trust God to lead and guide me. And so it's a 2 hour drive home. And so I feel like I just had this conversation with God for the whole drive home. And this like heaviness came over me that was, I heard all the things that you mentioned, like, once you hit a certain age, you can't put on muscle. And when you get too old, you can't lose weight. And all of those things were kind of playing in my head. And I was like, gosh, I'm 47, or was I? Yeah, I was 47. Um, like I've hit the point, like I had gained 10 pounds in the last year. And so I was like, you know what? I need to be okay with who I am and what I look like, and just love me for me. And I was just praying that God would help me to do that, despite the fact that I was never going to achieve this thing that I've worked my whole life for.
Wow. Well, I love that you brought God into the conversation with you and you
Yeah.
leaned on him for his support, for his guidance and wisdom to help you in that moment. With having that conversation and with putting that prayer out there, in what ways was it answered for you?
Well, like I said, it was a 2 hour drive. And so
Yeah.
I just kept like, and it was probably one of the heaviest I've ever felt in my life, just this knowing of like, I need to love me for me. Like, I can't put
Mhm.
these conditions on, what I need to be in order to love me. And I know that God loves us unconditionally. And so I was just praying for his unconditional love, and that knowing, for me to somehow grasp, like, I can unconditionally love my children, and I can
Mhm.
unconditionally love, who the little girl that I once was that had all of these issues. But like, to unconditionally love who I am today is like a big, totally different. And so
Yeah.
this was kind of like how I was going back and forth with God on the drive home. And when I got home, I was in my kitchen, and I, pulled up Facebook, and then you showed up. And so,
That gave me the chills.
yeah.
That gave me the chills.
Yeah, yeah. And I had
So,
never heard of you before. So I was like, that's kind of why I jumped in and did it. And because I felt like it was an answer to prayer.
oh man, you're gonna make me cry on this interview. That that's God's work right there, and that's just amazing that he trusted that Warrior Babe was the like he threw that your way as a catalyst for you to experience change for yourself.
Absolutely.
Woo! So okay, you saw the video. Before that though, was there ever a moment that you were finally like, was there a point of like, I'm giving up, I can't do this anymore? Was that, but before or after the prayer, was there ever a moment like that? Because I'm thinking about the women that are listening to this right now and the depths of, like you mentioned, this was the heaviest I was in. I know you turned to God, but was there ever a moment that was like, I just can't do this anymore? Like, I'm going to give up. And if not, that's totally,
Yeah.
I'm
And
curious on that.
I think that was the part of the heaviness, was like the accepting that I'm done. I'm done
Mhm.
trying. I'm done searching. I'm done. I'm just going to love me without any of the rest. And so I
Wow.
had fully resigned to the knowing that I was giving up on all of it.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay. So you had tried everything, just to recap on what you just shared there. You tried everything. You were doing different like diets or workout programs, like, and then you were chasing this expectation that you weren't really clear of right now, but looking back, it was, you weren't really clear on the body image you were going after, but you were trying to get some type of result. But it was, the result more of like loving yourself and unconditionally being in the present moment with where you're at right now, but also obviously wanting a type of change that you can see physically and mentally for yourself. So WarriorBabe popped up. I want to talk about like the ad or the video, whatever. What resonated with you the most in that moment?
Um, I don't remember the words because, like I said, I didn't know who you were at all. And
Hmm.
it was like, and since then I have seen this same ad like a million times, but it was like, are you tired of this and that? And, the fad dieting. And I don't remember, but I was in my kitchen in that low place. And I was like, yes, those are all of the things that I have finally given up, you know?
Hmm.
And, and then it was like, I scheduled the appointment and 15 minutes, like I'm on the phone with this live person. And then I scheduled I said my sales call and went through that whole thing. And she's like, what do you think? And I was like, well, I'm afraid to be hopeful
Oh,
because,
wow.
and she's like, well, let's talk about it. And I was like, there's nothing to talk about. Like, I'm like, I think I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to be hopeful that something's actually going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what made you decide to take the leap then?
Because I feel like it was an answer to prayer, like just the timing, the way that it all worked out. I was like, I think this is the thing that, it was like my last, I was done, but I was like, okay, fine, I'll give this a try. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So, all right, we're talking to the team. You're getting onboarded. You're talking to your coach. What were your first thoughts like as you started the Warrior Wave journey? Like you mentioned you weren't going to be hopeful. So like where was your head at? Where were you at in like the first like month of it?
Well, it's funny because I signed up um, and then like a few days later, we were going on vacation for a week. And so I met my coach, which, she's like, in her mid 20s. And, so I like, kind of stalked her and I was like, oh, great. Like, I totally had buyer's remorse, because I was like, she's cute. And I was like, cute and all,
She's
but
cute.
like, what do you
She's not
know
my
about like
age.
helping women my age? But there was that part of me that was like, you know what? I thought I knew. Like, I thought I
Mhm.
knew, health and fitness and, you know, I like science and I've done a lot of research and reading, which really makes it hard, like, because the whole Warrior Babe methodology is just very different. Like, you're actually eating food,
Shocking.
Um, and
Yeah.
and so but I was like, this is so different, but I was like, all the things before that I knew like weren't right. So I'm like, I'm committing for a year. I'm gonna freaking go all in. And I mean, I was already thinking in a year from now I'm gonna gain another 10 pounds. So I mean, what's the worst that could happen? And so I was like, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna listen to everything. I'm gonna do the things. And like, if it doesn't work, whatever. I'm not in a worse place than I would have been, right?
Okay, I love that. Two things I want to unpack there. One, right, your coach's approach and like WarriorBabe's methodology kind of went against everything that you thought you knew. Like you just said here, like we actually, tell you to eat food. With that statement, like what was the hardest part of letting go of old beliefs?
Well, she really had to go slow with me, I think. I feel like, because, I lived a keto lifestyle and, with keto, you barely eat vegetables. And then I also got into intermittent fasting for about 10 years. And like towards the last 3 years, like I did keto and like extreme intermittent fasting. So I really only ate one meal a day. Um,
Wow.
I know. I mean, I had no hunger cues whatsoever. And the hardest part for me was like learning to have a different relationship with food. And so it's so fun to go back and look at my food logs from the very beginning because I was like, I'll log everything. Um, but yeah, the hardest part for me was like, I'm like, am I doing this right? Like, I'm eating, like, I'm supposed to eat all this food, you know? She's like, eat 5 times a day. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, all right, I'll do it, whatever. It's
That's hilarious. What so you did you finally get back your hunger cues when you ate that much food? Like, what did that feel like for you?
I did. And it was really, really exciting. And it's funny now, like, I'm only like maybe that was September I joined and it's like June. And so my family makes fun of me all the time because they're like, oh, mom hasn't eaten for an hour. She's going to get hangry.
They know the countdown of when you're gonna get hungry. That's hilarious. Did you come into Worry with going through the retrain process then?
You know, and that's another thing. I didn't ask a lot of questions, but yes, I believe that retrain is where I was because she started me out kind of lower and then I worked up calories. And she first started me out, you know, like 5 meals a day. And then she's like, okay, I want you to hit this protein. And then once I could do that, she's like, I want you to hit this. Was it the fat or the carbs? The carbs were the hardest part. She's like, Meg, you need carbs. And I was like, well, I ate an apple, you know?
That's a carb.
Right, right. And now I'm like 210 carbs a day. And
That's wild to me, and which I want we're gonna talk about your progress and the results you've achieved, but coming off of keto to be at 210 grams of carbs a day, like, what is your view on carbs now versus back when you were probably limiting them drastically?
well, you know, I saw carbs as bad, which was just
Mhm.
so weird that you're looking at fruit and you're going, how can fruit be bad? You know, but
Mhm.
I mean, I love it. It's like I buy carrot juice because I'm like, I need to get these carbs in somehow. But yeah, it's definitely a different, I mean, even Lindsay, she's like, Meg, you need, like, can you eat some bread? And I was like, oh, I thought I could just eat fruit. You know, she's like, no, have some spaghetti. And I was like, oh, are you sure? You know, and so I would eat like sourdough bread. I'm like, is this okay? And she's like, yes, this is what you're supposed to do. And I was like, oh, okay.
So your world of carbs has opened up drastically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what made Warrior Babe stand out from all the other programs that you've tried?
Well, I can tell you why I think your listeners should choose Warrior Babe, if that would be
Okay.
acceptable.
Of course.
Okay. So, because, you know, I feel like people, you know, my age, like we pay for nutritionists, or dietitians, you know, we'll pay personal trainers, we'll pay like not psychiatrists, psychologists or like, you know, life coach people and like they're all of these different areas. And so, you know, they all don't know what's going on in the other areas of your life. And I feel like with
Mhm.
Warrior Babe, like you guys like encompass all of that. And I can tell a little story about why, like how that I got to see that.
Mhm.
Um, I was doing 3 weight workouts a week, skiing on Fridays, and skinning, which is like going up the mountain on Thursdays. And so another thing is like when you do the programs, like you got to do all the things, answer all the questions, fill out all the comments. And so even if I just say something like felt great after my workout, like I always comment something. And so for about 2 weeks, Lindsay's like, Meg, you've been saying your energy's low. And so then she's like, let's look at what you've got going on. And I'm thinking, you know, let's say I told that to like my dietitian, she'd be like, you know, oh, you're good, just stick it out. And if I told that to my personal trainer, she'd be like, oh, you know, toughen up, buttercup, like let's get it on. You know, maybe the psychologist would be like, oh, what's your stress? Let's manage it. But like, you know, Lindsay's like, okay, let's look at all the things. And she's like, you know, when you're skinning, you're burning 600 calories an hour. You need more food. And so, you know, we upped my calories and all of a sudden I'm not tired anymore, you know? And probably several months later, I was commenting low energy again. And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, I need more food. She's going to tell me we're going to up my calories again. And so we started talking and, I mentioned I've got a couple businesses and there was a lot of stress in my life at the time. And I was doing my build. I was on the fifth week of my build and she's like, so let's talk about this tired. And I was like, man, I went to dinner last night and I literally fell asleep at the table. Like literally, I finished eating and I was like, I had my like this, and then I put my head down on the table and
Oh
I
my
fell asleep.
gosh.
I couldn't drive home. I told my husband, I was like, you need to drive. And I got home, I climbed into bed with my purse still on my arm and I fell asleep and woke up the next morning. That's how tired I was.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And so I get on with Lindsay and she's like, kind of assessing all of the things. And she's like, I think it's the stress. Like, I think it's the work stress. We can't like, and we kind of talked over that a little bit. Like, I can't change that. It's a growing business. And she's like, I think we need to get you out of this build. Like, it's too much. And so I was like, I trust you more than I trust me. And I mean, it's like if she was only seeing me from a workout perspective, I feel like she'd have been like, toughen up, you got this, like you can do it, like I'm gonna cheer you on the whole way. But it's like I didn't need to be cheered on. I needed to be out of it.
Yeah. Wow. So I love that story because it really does encompass the different facets of like the buckets that Warrior Babe addresses. It's not just like, I'm going to look at you from the workout lens or nutrition lens. I'm going to look at you from the whole lifestyle that you are involved and responsible for, right? Because you're a business owner, you're a mom, like you're a jack of all trades, like we said at the beginning, and you're also trying to work on yourself and put yourself first with this fitness and nutrition. And these signals that were happening in your body and in your mind were important to be addressed from all facets, not just from fitness and nutrition. And I love that you highlighted that because that's what we were proud of. Like WarriorBabe was proud of for being all encompassing because we're meeting you guys where you're at.
Yeah.
You guys are all in different stages, life's responsibilities, ages, stresses, like widowed to empty nester to all of the things. So I think that's really cool that you share that story, and I appreciate you sharing that story because it really highlights. You really highlighted it there.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about it is if you would have asked me, I loved the building, like, especially seeing my metrics going up, like the lean mass and the fat,
Yeah.
like it like really turns me on. Like I can't wait to
The
like
science brain.
I'm like I can't wait for like a year from like I don't even want to do a cut. I'm like let's just build. Um but like I would have said no, I want to stay in this thing, but instead I was like I trust you more than I trust me. But in my mind I was like I mean, how is this really going to help? So she changes my work. She's like, you can finish out this week, and then next week we're going to put you in a deload, which actually I did for 4 weeks until this week. And so I was like, I don't see how this is really going to help. And it freaking did. I couldn't even believe how, like, bands and body weight and hit, like, my body could handle that, but it couldn't handle the building the muscle.
Isn't that wild how our bodies work?
Yeah. Like, it is a lot of work for your body to build muscle.
Fascinating. Yeah, a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's not just on the workout side of things, it's also like you said, like, you were experiencing on the nutrition side too as well. It's like you have to eat a lot of food. It's cool to see the stats go up, but it's a lot of work that goes at the back end of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we dive into like the results that you're experiencing now or have since September, was there a moment like early on that you realized in your journey that you were like, wow, because you were like, I'm not gonna have any hope in it, right? I'm not gonna get my hopes up. Expectations are low. Was there a moment that you realized, okay, wow, this is working?
Yeah.
And like we delivered on our promise?
Yeah. I've had like the privilege of getting to meet Lindsay in person because we both live in Colorado, which was so freaking cool. Because I'm a person, like
Right.
a person, I like to connect with people. And she's like, Meg, have you looked at, like I'm just entering the stats, I'm doing the things like, I mean, your program is really cool in the back, how you can, see the pictures and see the metrics. she's like, have you looked at any of this? And I was like, no. Like, I'm keeping my head down. I'm doing it. I'm trusting you. Like, I don't, whatever, you know, kind of like trusting in the being addicted to the process rather than like, this is the goal. And so
Mhm.
she's like, look at these pictures. And she showed me my starting picture and then a picture somewhere. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, that that's crazy. And then after that moment, I saw a girl in the Warrior Babe VIP group that was like really muscular. And I texted that picture to Lindsay and I was like, and this is probably the ideal image that I have like worked for my whole life, but I didn't really know what it was. And I
Yeah.
texted it to her. I was like, "Hey, can I do this?" And she's like, "Heck yeah." And I was like, "Really?" Like that was the moment that I like I got hope again.
Yeah, the giddiness there, I love that. And to segue into the results, because that's what I was just doing was bringing up your before and afters, and we're definitely gonna work them into the edits of the video. But like, if y'all could see me right now, I'm like getting ready to jaw drop, on video. Some of you guys may only be listening to this via audio, but just know that my jaw is dropping. Like I'm looking at your before, and this is just in March, so I can't imagine what June is now. But the
Yes.
before and after, like you not to say like you were overweight before, but like now you look not but at now you look like you are like fit. Like you have the shoulders are starting to get well rounded, the abs are starting to pop in, like the lines and the definition. Like you look like you're meant to like be like a power lifter. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
you got muscle, girl, and you can
Right?
see it coming through. And your back, like did you see your booty? Because you got a
Yes.
the booty is shaping.
I know. And man, if you could see it now, because that was in March and it's June, like
Yeah.
I think that I've dropped like 2% in body fat since then, and I've gained like 5 pounds in lean mass.
Holy cow. And at 47, that's how old you said you were, right? So
Yeah,
like didn't that does that blow your mind on the belief like you're never too old to
totally.
build muscle?
No.
Okay, love that. Okay, let's
Well,
talk about these stats though. Go ahead.
oh, sorry. Let me just say about that photo for the people that can see it. I weigh
Yeah.
152 pounds in both pictures.
No, you don't. That
Yeah.
just gave me the chills, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Totally. Yeah. So there's like the fat Meg who's 152 pounds, thinking she needs to weigh at least 130. And then there's the Meg like in March who weighs 152 pounds still. And like you can see how different that looks. And today I weigh 158.
No way. So you're heavier, but
Yeah,
you probably look thinner in the
totally.
photos.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that. Does that blow your mind on weight?
Yes, totally. Yep.
Totally like counteracts everything that we've been taught and conditioned to believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I, that entire time you were just saying that my mouth was just completely dropped. Like that just blows my. I love those stories because it will the listeners and the people that will see this if they're watching it through video. That's gonna blow their minds. And I
hmm,
love when people bring up that they weigh the same in both pictures because that puts into perspective the amount of the muscle that you have fed and built and grown is more dense than the fat volume that you had prior. So that's why you're either weighing the same, but you look thinner and more toned and built because of the
totally.
muscle you've built.
Yeah.
Wild. I'm gonna have to see a June photo now soon. Okay, let's talk about these stats. Like, where are you? I know you just shared a little bit about the weight and percentage, but where are you now? Being, you started in September, you're in June. What are all the things that you've experienced and result wise, and what are you the most proud of?
Well, honestly, like the thing that I'm most proud of is like how I have a healthy relationship with food.
Yeah.
I love me unconditionally, like and I want to talk about judgment too, but I love that I can look at food and I mean, I'll go to In and Out and like eat In and Out where I actually I had Five Guys for the first time ever. Like, And I asked my kids, I'm like, what's your guys' favorite? And I got that, you know, and I actually did go over my fat for the day. And Lindsay's like, good for you.
Heck yeah.
Cause I'm like, I mean, there have been like, I can count on one half of my hand how many times I've like gone out of my macros. I love I love eating and I love food, and like before I used to say I don't like food. If I could just drink my nutrition I'd be happy, because
Mm.
I just didn't like it. But and then I love me. You know, in the past I probably would have, you know, I still have like a little role, and I mean, it's itty bitty, but I would have never been okay with it. But I would have sucked it in and kind of sat up tall and really killed myself no matter where I was to make sure it didn't spill out and nobody saw it. And like today, I'm like, I wander around like in Florida in a tube top, and I'm like, whatever. This little thing, like I don't even care. Like I love me,
Oh
and
my
I'm like unashamed of how I look, and it's just all okay.
That is so beautiful. That is so powerful. Like it's like you were rewriting the narratives that you were, believing about yourself to be more empowering for you, to be more accepting of where you are now, and to be more, as you mentioned earlier, like unconditionally loving you in the present moment and where you are in your journey.
Yes, yes.
That is
And
um
the third thing that I'm like most proud of, and I think a lot of people can resonate with this, is, you know, I how do I say it? It's hard to say because it's like it's awful. I judged everyone. And I didn't know I did it. It was like very, very subconscious, but like
Mm.
I've done it my whole life. I learned it at an early age. You know, what's too skinny, what's too fat. But I think that kind of turned into let me find her flaws so that I can feel good about me. And, very like I could have found flaws in you and you look gorgeous right now, but it would make me feel better about me, which
Mm.
it truly doesn't, though. It really makes you feel terrible. But I lived my life like judging everybody and measuring myself up to everyone, which I think something in us thinks that's going to make us feel better, but it doesn't. And I can tell you a little quick story, which is when I kind of realized like I'm free of this. I was in my car. I took my kids to Kilwins for ice cream. And I
Mhm.
was in the car because I wasn't getting any. So I'm just sitting in my car, kind of people watching. And these three girls got out of the car, like right in front of me. And, maybe early 20s or whatever. They all had sundresses on. And I'm fairly confident in the past, I'm 47. Why am I first comparing myself to a 20-year-old?
Facts.
But I know I would have. And I probably would have been like, oh, her dress is too short. And oh, why would she choose this and that color? But like, that's just how I used to. And I didn't even realize I did it. And I know a lot of us do that subconsciously.
Mhm.
But instead, they got out of the car and they were all kind of giggling and laughing as they were walking towards the ice cream shop. And like, I felt like engrossed in like, I felt like I got sucked into their moment. And I was like smiling and just admiring like the happy joy that they were having.
Yeah.
And then I was like so filled with like joy instead of like feeling like crap because I'm judging them and measuring myself up to them.
Wow. I love that story. It really puts into perspective how you have grown in that light with not with from judging to non-judging and then seeing how much joy there is outside of comparison or judging someone, which is I think a beautiful thing. You should be proud of yourself for that. It's huge.
Totally. I'm like
Yeah.
super thankful to be free of that because it doesn't feel good.
No. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's totally different energy wavelength. It's more of the negative than it is the uplifting or empowering one or positive.
Totally.
Oh, it's huge. So there, and this brings it back to like what you talked about. Like it's not just fitness or nutrition that we love to. We obviously we're a fitness coaching company, but it's like, we care about all facets of your life, and one being the mindset, and then your lifestyle and the way that you show up on a daily basis. But if you put your work into the fitness and nutrition, you're going to notice it flow into different buckets of your life. And that was a really cool change that you noticed along your journey, as part of one of the buckets.
Yes.
So as we start to like wrap up this interview, you mentioned that like the biggest achievement for you isn't just fitness. It's the hope aspects too. How has that changed your life? Because you came in not wanting it, not like it's like the hope thing. This has been a consistent drop in this interview. So how has that
Yeah.
changed for you?
Well, I mean, I absolutely have hope.
I love
And
that. I love that
super,
we delivered on our promise.
oh gosh, right? And I mean, I'm so thankful that I trusted the process, so that I could see. I'll tell you the hope that I have. Like, I know that I'm going to live the rest of my life. Like, it's almost like a dream. I'm like,
Mm,
pinch me so I can wake up because I'm eating food and have a healthy relationship with food. That's weird when you've never had it your whole life.
sure.
It's like a fantasy world. Like, I'm eating all of these foods and like that's the right thing to do. It's
Yeah. Food
confusing
freedom.
for my brain that didn't function that way forever.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to live the rest of my life like eating.
I love that. That's so the biggest wins that I love whenever I do these interviews or we share success stories on a monthly basis as a company. We have success stories every day, but we highlight them on our meeting once a month. And my favorite takeaways are I get to eat food and I
Yeah.
get to eat more food. And I now this like I get to eat the foods I enjoy forever. Like it's I love that takeaway because food isn't meant to be like this bad thing. It's meant to fuel you and give you overall well-being and nourishment.
Yes.
So I love that
And
that's
like I it's funny because the image that I searched for my whole life, I'm going to get there. I know
Mhm,
that I
you
will.
totally are.
Yeah, and I'm stoked. Like I can't like I probably would have been in a hurry to like get into a cut, but now I'm not in a hurry to get there, but I know when I do, I'm like, look out.
Yes. Girl, I can't wait to see what the next you've still September, and I'm sure maybe you're gonna, go into your second year. I can't wait to see what that train we're gonna have to do like a second interview to this because it's really cool to see where you were at the beginning to where you are now and to know from what you're speaking to the goal that you have in mind for yourself and know that you're going to be unstoppable getting there. You're going
Yep.
to get there, and I can't wait to see when that that future you shows up for you and it's present into the moment and you have the attack like you're in it, you're living it.
Yes.
We'll have to
And
totally do
I will be a second year. I will be going into a second year for sure.
Oh, I love that. Okay, let's say what would you say to someone that's listening to this right now that's stuck in the same cycle as you, that's like always chasing, like you were always trying to chase like that perfect body, but but never feeling like you were enough along the process. What would you say to that woman listening and how Warrior Babe can help them?
Yeah, I think that if any of your listeners resonate at all with the chasing and never finding or the giving up, or even maybe they're still in there's the thing out there. I just got to find the thing, like the supplement or the fad diet or whatever if they're looking for the thing, like the thing is actually like a long-term lifestyle. Um, and
Yep.
I mean, I have like my mind has been blown with how life has changed for me since Warrior Babe. So if there's anybody out there that's like on the fence with should I do this, you know, it's a financial commitment, but without question, you are worth it. You are worth the money that it takes to do this. And, some people may have to like buckle down. It could be a really hard decision, but here's the thing. You're going to be mentally showing up for your family and your friends and your work way better than you ever did. And you're going to be happier than you ever were before. So it's like, how do you put a price on those things?
Mm. Girl, yes. Meg, say it louder, man. I love that. That's so powerful. And I think for everybody listening to this, like your story is that real transformation isn't just about weight loss and it's not just about building muscle, although you've done that and you've been successful at that and your transformation photos are incredible. It's also about breaking free from those like expectations that hold you back. Like you learn to love yourself, you learn to trust the journey, you learn to build strength in ways that go far beyond you working out and far beyond you, hitting your nutrition and eating all the foods now and, all the carbs. It goes so much farther beyond that. It goes to you. Like, I think the coolest takeaway of this is like, you love yourself and you're in the present moment and you're here now. And that's really cool because that's going to just continue to highlight, like be a part of your moving forward, that you're showing up in the present moment and you're not attached to the past, you're not attached to the future. Although you have a goal, like you're striving to get there and you're living in the moment. I think that's really cool. And if you guys are listening to this right now and like you're feeling like you're chasing these impossible standards or you're chasing after a body image that you don't even I love that you were so honest earlier. Like, I had no idea what I was chasing after. I was just chasing after all the fad diets that were out there that promised me this like unrealistic expectation. And you realize, Meg, that it's like, this is a lifestyle. If you guys feel like that you were Meg and you want to learn how to make it a lifestyle, then definitely check out WarriorBabe. Go to WarriorBabe.com, get absorbed in our ecosystem, and we would love to help you. Meg, thank you. Is there anything else before we wrap it up that you'd want to say or share?
No, I don't think so. Well, yeah, maybe for like the new babe, because I see this come up. So let's say you join. Um,
Yeah.
don't expect changes overnight because, I was like, I'm going to give it a year and I'm not going to pick apart myself along the way. And I'm just going to see where I end up in a year. And I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of newbies come in and they're like, it's been 3 weeks and, I actually gained 10 pounds right off the bat. And I looked better with 10 more pounds
Yep.
on me, but like, just trust the process.
Amen. Amen to that. Thank you for adding that in there.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing that story. I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you very much. It was great to be here with you.